I've done some research about spirituality, and I've looked into Tao spirituality, yogic or yoga spirituality, and Tantra spirituality. And what I found is I've used to do like listen to these gurus like Sadhguru, and like these Zen monks and people who were doing all kinds of talks on them, and I thought that was quite interesting. But after some time, I developed this like aversion for it because I was getting into those ideas, and if you know about spirituality, you know there's like some strange ideas out there. So I was like trying to be like very open-minded and trying to understand these things, and like this gave me some very strange experiences and beliefs and thoughts. And so because of that, because everything seemed so weird, even though I did it for quite a while, but because everything seemed so weird after a while, I just stopped doing it because like it just seemed so unreal to me, and like kind of fake, to be honest. After a while I started feeling like that, and I had some like weird like reality shifts or whatever. I was probably getting like a little bit paranoia, and it wasn't until maybe 1 year, maybe 2 years ago, that I really chatted about this with ChatGPT. And it's only then that I started having a better understanding of really the metaphysical principles behind it, and like what's really true and what should I take with a grain of salt. And that really rapidly gave me a better understanding of it. That's why I'm also quite excited about ChatGPT, but that's another topic. So what I learned about Tao, yoga, and Tantra. So yoga is like a spiritual practice, and the goal of yoga is moksha, right? And moksha is like complete detachment or liberation. So what this means is yoga is not just a bunch of stretching exercises, it's actually a very spiritually and very philosophically profound and deep regime or like set of beliefs. And that's really the deeper way to experience those practices. And so the goal of yoga is moksha, complete detachment or liberation. This means that they see, the philosophy is that they see everything in life as like a distraction. Because the philosophy is that everything is impermanent and like non-duality and things like that. Meaning that you might feel great one time, but and this is true for the most part, by the way, but eventually you're not going to be able to hold on to that feeling. Eventually it's going to return. And then because you no longer have that good feeling, that causes suffering, right? On the other hand, there's also the other things that you need to let go. The things that are in the past, you also need to let that go. You can't be distracted by suffering. You need to put yourself above that. And you can't be distracted by pleasure, because everything where you create ripples is where you create distractions. And so the goal of that complete detachment in yoga is like it's complete detachment from your body, by the way, the body and the earth, because they want to build such like mental strength and resistance that whatever pain or distractions is going on in their experience, like they can just put it out of their attention, right? Or they can like be aware of that but not have any feelings. They're completely detached from that. That is the goal. So oftentimes, like these practices, they are very they're renunciating a lot of things. They renounce a lot of earthly things. And the goal is complete detachment. The goal for them is to not need anything. Now, obviously, there is a lot of benefits to that. But what I've been thinking a lot and when I've been chatting with ChatGPT is that that's not necessarily all positive either. Because just because you don't need anything doesn't mean that you're enjoying life, right? It might mean that you can stay calm and you can have like a good neutral flow, which is quite important in life. But detachment itself, like the word itself, it means separating yourself from life. And they actually want to experience death. Yoga want to experience death, but in a way that like they can, they can no longer feel about the reality, right? They can be detached. And so they want to experience death in a way where they can just be, they don't have karma, it's what they say. It's basically that they are completely satisfied with whatever is going on. They have no resentment and they're just ready to die and ready to let go. That's the goal. That's literally the goal of yoga, is to die without resentment. But that's, that's good in a way, but in another way, it's like, it's not very life-affirming. It's literally not a life-affirming philosophy. So that's why I kind of started moving out of that. But when you think about it, like, it makes sense because the way the yoga was developed, it was in the time of the Upanishads. And this is like 1,000 years before Christ, when this was in India that this was developed. And so these people, they had like a lot of, they were living in a difficult time. And so, they were wondering like, well, how can we deal with this? How can we have a good, how psychologically can we deal with this? That we can find some meaning in life. That's how this spirituality developed. And so they saw in their material world, because there was not enough water, and then like there was a very harsh political and societal cultural system, that materially there is not much to be gained from life. So they sought their meaning out of the material side of life. And that's how that developed. And so I can definitely understand it in a way, and it's definitely practical, but I don't think it's a good modern philosophy, and I don't think it's a good standard philosophy, because a lot of the things that they say really make sense, but at the end of the day, you just want to have a life-affirming philosophy. You want to have something that's like, well, yes, eventually we die, but right now we're alive, we're going to make the most of that. And that's where spiritual practices like Tao and Tantra get more into. They're more life-affirming. Even like Christianity is more life-affirming. And so I think that's a better philosophy to have. That's just my opinion. Why not enjoy life? Obviously, there are a lot of truths that are in yoga, and we need to be careful of those ups and lows. But that doesn't mean you can't enjoy life. That doesn't mean that you can have a positive life-affirming philosophy. So hopefully you got something out of this. I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.